Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
Hey, my little sweetness, and I want to let our audience know on what I did all by myself just now. The technologically impaired and challenged, actually figured something out.
I know. What did you figure out,
Yes.
Ima?
Well, when we went on, we were about to go on the air. Remember, you couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear you. So I looked down at my cell phone and I saw this little icon, little green icon that said join with audio. And I pressed it. And then a screen came up and said Wi-Fi or audio. And I pressed Wi-Fi and I got it. And then when I look down, I see a microphone that says mute. So like you said, I've got this horrible cough. So in case I have one of my coughing seizures, I can press mute, and I figured it out all by myself.
I'm very proud of you. All right. So today's topic, we will be talking about insurance. That's what you want to talk about?
Yes, the insurance debacles.
Insurance debacles.
Yeah, since I am the sadder but wiser woman as a result, I want to impart my great experience to others that might
Wonderful.
be trying to surf the surf the world of unfair medical insurances.
So what's one good story you want to start off with?
Okay. When Menachem, first of all, what I learned from this story is never, ever, ever depend upon the receptionist or anybody at your doctor's or dentist's office to tell you what your benefits are or not. Go directly to your insurance company or see if they can send you information over, if you can get information online and download it and print it out so you can use it in case they try to, say, oh, no, we're not going to honor this claim. Oh, yes, you are. Look, you have it. Here's what you have in black and white to cover. But what happened with me was Menachem, when he was around 2.5, 3 years old, had a horrible situation where, unfortunately, I neglected his teeth. I didn't mean to, but it's one of these situations where he would fall asleep in the late afternoon. I didn't want to wake him up. And so he would sleep through the night. And that happened once too many times. And as a result of me not being able to brush his teeth before he went to sleep, he developed a large number of cavities. And it was a very dangerous situation. I mean, these teeth had to be taken care of now before they became infected, because I remember when you were a little boy and had that infected tooth, that was a potentially dangerous situation. In fact, it was Simchas Torah that it happened. Wow. I had to break Yontef because I realized it was such a dangerous situation. Anyway, here's what happened.
That happened to me.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah.
Right. But that's for another time. So what happened was Menachem, I remembered from you, and I did not want to put off this surgery, but it was. I had to take him to a hospital, and they would have to put him under because, being only 2.5, 3 years old, he could not possibly sit through root canals. They had to do a number of root canals. They had to, fillings, root canals. They had to put a couple of caps on his teeth, and there's no way a little 3-year-old's going to sit through that. So the medical part of it, going to the hospital, being anesthetized, that was Baruch Hashem, was totally taken care of. The problem was the dental work. I had to go to a specialist. I had to go to a pediatric dentist since he was so young. Mm-hmm. And this was a rather complicated situation. So when I came there, I asked the receptionist at the desk, how much does my insurance pay? She says, your insurance pays 80% and you pay 20%. Fine. A day before the surgery, I get a call. They made a mistake. It was I who paid the 80%.
Wow.
And my insurance pays the 20%. Well, I was not about to put off the surgery for any amount of money. I said, somehow I'm going to see what I can do to get it together. I said, I'm going to go ahead with this. Don't want to take any chances. So after it was done, I appealed my claim to the, of course, the claim, I appealed the claim to the insurance company saying, listen, it wasn't until the day before the operation or the dental procedure that I was told about the mistake. And I said, this was a little boy, I could not put it off. This is really unfair. I said, we're low income people. We cannot afford, you're talking about a lot of money, and we could not afford it. And therefore, I think that, they should pay the 80% because that was what I was quoted when I first came into the office. So they said no, they weren't going to do it. So a friend of mine who had worked for a number of insurance companies, when I told her my situation, said, go to the insurance commissioner. The last person they want to hear from is the insurance commissioner because they know they're going to get investigated.
Yep.
So I called the insurance commissioner, and this wonderful woman named Michelle spoke to them, and she called me back. She said, okay, she says, they've told me that they really are not liable for the money, but as a goodwill gesture, they will pay it. Good. So weeks went by. I kept calling the dentist. Did you receive payment? No. Did you receive payment? No. So finally, and also this wonderful lady, Michelle, sent me a copy of the letter that my insurance company had sent to her, guaranteeing her that as a goodwill gesture that they will pay the amount. So I called the insurance company and I said, I understand that my dentist hasn't received any payment yet. And I have a copy of the letter that Michelle from the insurance commissioner's office sent to me that you sent to her, saying that you were going to guarantee paying 80% of the payment. So the lady on the other end of the phone goes, oh. And she goes, oh, okay. All right. If that's what we agreed. Okay. And then say, bye. And we hung up. A minute later, I get a call from Michelle, who's laughing and laughing and laughing. Michelle said, I just got a call from that lady from your insurance company when you told her that I had sent you a copy of the letter she sent to me. Boy, was she mad.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so
we have other stories too. I'm sure everybody listening has insurance stories of their own they can relate to.
Well, this was more of a short insurance story. It's more of a medical story, but basically, this just happened to me now. So remember in 2017, I twisted my ankle really bad.
Yeah.
I twisted it really bad, and I didn't have any insurance at the time, so I just kind of ignored it. And then I basically just kind of sucked it up and dealt with it, and not dealt with it. I didn't do anything with it. And then I was walking with Ruthie the other day, and she noticed I was limping and tripping over myself. And I explained to her it's basically because of my ankle. I never got it looked at. So
tell the audience who Ruthie is.
They know. They should know.
We might have new listeners.
Sure. It's my.
I'm being optimistic.
Yeah. Okay. It's my wife. So I went ahead and I went to urgent care, and they looked over and they did an X-ray, and then they sent the X-ray to the podiatrist, and then podiatrist looked at it and said, well, we need another X-ray. I did the X-ray, and then they asked me for a review, and I'm like, well, I don't know why urgent care was asking for a review, and I got really upset because I'm like, I went to urgent care, I did a X-rays, and then the podiatrist said they weren't good, and I had to do the same exact thing, the next time with this other insurance, with advanced radiology. And I was on the phone with the lady, and I was just complaining about it. And I told her, I'm like, I literally did the same exact thing. I don't understand what the problem is. So she went back and investigated. Turns out the second people that were supposed to do radiologists, they were supposed to take a look at my foot, my ankle. They were supposed to do it standing, and I was doing it sitting, and they did it wrong. So luckily, because I complained, they at least were able to go ahead and get it taken care of.
Good.
But yeah, there's a few other like insurance stuff. I mean, Ruthie works in this law firm. She's worked in law the past like 5 years, and she works in insurance law, and she gets really frustrated because all these people come in and they complain about certain things that really there's nothing they can do about it, or it's just so tiny and minute, and they're worrying about like pennies. Like there's a small scratch on someone's car, and they're flipping out and going ahead and calling the lawyer to think that they can get more money out of it. Like, what are you doing? Stop.
That's what I was about to go into my next story.
Oh yeah,
someone who did that to me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what happened?
Okay, what happened was I was driving
Yeah.
and the light turned green.
Mhm.
And I thought the car in front of me was going to go. And what happened was the car in front of me, the cars were all moving, but the car in front of me did not go.
Okay.
And I saw myself about to bump into her, and I put my foot on the brake. And unfortunately, I didn't hit her. I did not hit her hard, but it was a little bump, teeny little bump.
Okay.
So she gets out, and we take pictures. And she's going, "Oh, my neck hurts. My neck hurts. My neck hurts." I said, "Do you want me to call you an ambulance?" She goes, "No." By the way, I went ahead and called the police to get an accident report. Unless there's serious injury that requires either the fire people or the ambulance people, the EMTs, they will not come out to you.
Yeah.
And it's because all these law shows that I used to listen to always advise you get a police report, get a police report. Well, the police will not do that if it's just a little fender bender like this. It's got to be a very serious accident for them to come out. So anyway, so I kind of wanted it was so the damage was so minimal that I wanted to pay her out of pocket. So I took her name and number. We exchanged information. I get home. I told your father about it. Your father's really smart with this stuff. He says, "No," he says, I don't think it's a good idea." He says, "Even if it is a scratch," he says, "something tells me go to the insurance. I have a feeling you should go to the insurance company." So I said, "Okay." So I put it to the insurance company. The next day she calls me. I said, "Good, I'm glad you called." And I said to her, "Listen, I know our original agreement was that I was going to pay out of pocket, but I told my husband he was not happy with that, and I went ahead and reported the accident to my insurance company." And she got very upset. She goes, "Oh, oh," she says, I'm really upset that you did that because I'm supposed to have a meeting with my attorney this afternoon."
Oh.
So anyway, so the lady from the insurance company, I call her up. I give her, she calls me up, takes my statement, what's happening, and what happened to the accident, yada yada. And she asked me to send her, to over my phone, to message her, text her the pictures I took on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
which I did. God bless the cell phone, man, because the cell phone has really, boy, you take pictures right after an accident or something, that cell phone will save your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the lady from the insurance company calls me a few weeks later to tell me evidently the lady, they went to court. I didn't have to go. They went to court, and the lady was there, and she was telling me the lady comes with her lawyer, and she's got this thing around her neck, and oh, she's claiming all these injuries. So she said the judge looked at the pictures and looked at the assessment from the repair shop as to, as to the as to the damage. The damage was less than $300, and the judge is looking and saying, "Wait a minute, there's a scratch. Oh, you're just getting a little paint job." He says, and I don't know if the judge was a man or a woman, but the judge says that he or she refused to believe that all the injuries she's claiming could be done from this teeny little scratch.
My gosh.
So they said the most they would do for her, they said they will pay for 2 physical therapy sessions, and that's it.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever get into an accident when you were like a teenager and have it deal with like insurance and things
Oh,
like that?
here's what happened. Yeah, that was a good one. I think we might have mentioned this in one of our podcasts. I don't know.
Maybe.
When I was 16, um, I was parking downtown, and I didn't realize it, but I scraped this as I was parking. I accidentally scraped this woman's car, and so she gets out of the car, and I was only 16 at the time, and I lowered the window and I called out to her, "Is everything okay?" Because I didn't think I had really done any damage.
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, yeah." She says to me, "Yeah, yeah, just go on, just go on." So I went on, and a few weeks later, we get a summons. And first of all, we hired a lawyer. My cousin was a lawyer, so we ran to my cousin who was a lawyer
Mm-hmm.
because this was really scary. We get the summons in the mail charging the owner of the car with bodily injury, property damage, and leaving the scene of an accident. Now, when the lawyer looked at the summons, he said, first of all, this summons was totally delivered incorrectly. You have to put a summons in a person's hand. It's a admonish hand. Yeah, anyone who's in the legal profession knows. You can't leave it in the mailbox.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, actually, we could have done is we could have. Thinking back, we could have ripped it up and thrown it in the trash and claimed that we never got it. But my parents were very honest people, and good honest people like my parents are the type that any legal action that you see that's being waged against you is very, very scary. Because you don't have a lot of money, and it's like I said, it's very frightening, especially when you're not used to handling the legal system. So my lawyer called her to see what the problem was, and evidently when she told me to leave, she didn't mean leave the area. She told me there was traffic behind me. She meant for me to drive around or pull to the side or go to a different place and then come back. But I thought she was telling me that everything was okay and to go on. So the lawyer gets on the phone with her, and he can't even talk to her. She's yelling, she's screaming, and she's saying, that little brat, she goes, I'm going to take her to court. I'm going to sue her for every penny she's worth. And so the lawyer says, okay, see you in court, see you in court. He couldn't even reason with her. Couldn't even get her to tell, what's the damage? How much is it? We'll pay it. What's going on? No, she would not reason with him. She just wanted to see us in court. Fine. So I go to court, and my father's there because it was his car anyway. My parents were there. And so the judge says to the lady, to describe what happened in the accident. And she described it. He says, who hit you? She thought I was 24 years old. She didn't know I was only 16. She said a young woman who around 24. And she said, and so my lawyer said that I thought that she told me to leave. And she said, no, she didn't mean for me to leave. She meant pull to the side, like pull over where there's no traffic. But I didn't understand that. So let me continue. So the lawyer says to her, how much are you suing for? Well, remember she said she was going to sue me for every penny I was worth. I was 16 at the time.
Oh, yes, you said this. You said this before.
Right.
Yes,
yeah, she was suing me
sued you for
$16. Yes.
Oh my god!
It was everyone in the courtroom it was total dead silence when she said that.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And so the judge says, "Well, ma'am," he says, "you're charging the owner of the car. Now, this young lady is not the owner of the car." He pointed to my father. He says, "This gentleman is the owner of the car. Is he the one that hit you?" She said, "No." He says, "Well, in that case, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to file the charges again." And then he looked right at her. He bent over the bench, and he looked right at her and said, "And you're going to be in front of me again. And if I were you, I would think twice before ruining the life of a 16-year-old girl." So I don't know. There was a young man that was very nice-looking young man that was with her. I don't know if it was an attorney. I don't know if it was her son. But as we're leaving the courtroom, he held open the door for me and smiled at me.
Oh, wow. Do you know if Tati ever had any accidents when he was younger?
Oh, your father? You ask your father. He was an excellent driver. He was such a good driver. He got an A in his driver's rehabilitation course. Your father.
What?
I understand. You know how the Bloody Red Baron chalked up a score of how many planes he shot down?
Yeah.
Your father, I think, chalked up a score of how many cars he wrecked. His parents told me he wrecked a total of 5 cars.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
And he was always criticizing my driving.
Well, you were just driving too slow, that's for sure. I want to. And you got a ticket for driving too slow. We talked about that.
It was a warning. I got a warning one time for driving too slow.
Yeah, it's just too much. Too much.
Yeah, the policeman who gave me the warning said, "Ma'am," he says, "if you want to go a little slower, that's wonderful. But please, not in the fast lane.
It's funny, in Maryland, there's no real like sign for like fast lane. I mean, we do have a fast lane, but there's no like official real rule that you have to be fast in the fast lane.
Mhm.
It's kind of annoying, but whatever. But what about, I guess, any of your teenage daughters when they were driving?
Well, first it was, I'm not going to say who, but one of your sisters who insisted on taking her driving test during the 9 days uh, slammed into the wall as she was taking her driving test and wrecked the car of the friend that she borrowed it from, because we had a big van. So she borrowed the small car from a friend of hers to take her driving test. What can I say?
So what
She,
happened?
she slammed into the wall and wrecked the car, and of course, failed the test.
Oh no.
I'll tell
Oh
you the truth.
no.
I have always wanted, if I ever had the time to do this project, where I would like to go to these different MVAs or DMVs and talk to the people that do the license testing to get some of the funniest stories of people taking the test from them. I'm sure these people who give the driving test must have some hilarious stories about all sorts of things happening like that.
Well, when I took the driver's test, I remember what's funny is that like I was very meticulous in the hours that I drove. So we had like you think you had to put in 40 hours, and I did 1 hour every Sunday with Tati. He taught me how to park, and then I drove back and forth from school with you.
Mhm.
And that was like a half hour a day, and that kind of accumulated. And I drove with you. I drove the giant like 12 passenger van, but when it was time to take the test, I took Etty's very small green car. It was a very small compact car, extremely small.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I wasn't sure when I took the test. I wasn't sure when did the test begin. Like, do you drive into the test and then you start it, or I was confused. So I kind of blew past the stop sign, but I did well with parallel parking, and I had a few hiccups here and there, but I passed it by under 2 points. You have 16 points until you fail, and on the first try I think I got 14 points.
Okay, so
Yeah.
listen, you passed, man.
Yeah, I remember when I
That's,
first drove on the highway, it felt like I was going on a roller coaster.
oh yeah, that's scary. When you first go on the Beltway for the first time, oh,
Oh
it's.
yeah.
I remember, was it one of your sisters as we pulled away from the curb? She goes, "There's a car behind. There's a car here on the street." There was, and I said, "Yeah, they're allowed to be here too." And I remember, let me see what else. Oh, then there was the story about another one of your sisters who when who decided to sneak out. I think we went over that, sneak out in the middle of the night with your other sister's car.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yes, I think I do know the story.
yeah, and she was. What happened was, I I thought that, yeah, yours the one that sneaked out with the car. I thought she was downstairs in the basement on the computer.
Yeah.
And your father, he has like a sixth sense. He woke up like in the middle of the night. It was like 2 a.m. He says, "Where's you know who?"
Yes.
And I said, "Oh, she's downstairs in the computer." And he kind of sat up in bed and he goes, "No, she's not." He says, "I have a feeling she's out of the house." Isn't that amazing? He had that feeling she was out of the house.
He
So
cared. He actually cared about his kids. It's kind of crazy, right?
very fun. No, he had this like sixth sense about his children,
Mm-hmm.
like almost like not a nevuah, but you know what I mean, like ESP. You might
He
say, like
actually
it's like,
cared about his kids. He was a good
yeah,
father.
yeah. So he we went downstairs to the basement, and to my shock, she was not there, and the back door to the basement was open.
Wow.
2 a.m. Our wonderful neighborhood, back door basement open.
Jeez Louise.
So then we're going crazy. Like, where is she? What did she do? Looking around the house for what happened. And your sister who owned the car got up. She was visiting that weekend. She got up and we realized that your younger sister had taken her car without permission. So while your younger sister was driving, she hit into the curb and popped 2 tires. And not only popped them, one of the tires she tried to drive on, so she totally ruined the rim and she couldn't go anymore. She gets out of the car and she looks and she goes, "Oh my, what is my older sister?" Like I said, I'd like to mention names. My older sister going to say, just at that second when she thought that, her cell phone rang, and it was her older sister in the car yelling at her, "You are in such trouble. You are really, you are dead where you are standing." So I think we called AAA or something. Somehow we got the car towed to to a place, and she had to she had to pay for it, and
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we've mentioned this, but I know that, like, there was like this whole issue with our insurance when it came to it's funny. Tati wanted to get rid of all. No, you want to get rid of all the junk downstairs in the basement that accumulated over the years. And Tati was like, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And like we had a sewage pipe burst, and like everything was tainted, and so we had to take everything outside. And what was great about this is that the insurance was like, we have to see like what exactly happened, and they saw all this stuff being thrown out and all these things accumulated. So it looked like it was a lot of stuff. So that you got a big payout at the end.
The thing was too that your father had to take for legal purposes, had to take a picture of me standing in the middle of all that junk that we were throwing out that I had been wanting to throw out for years. And I'm standing in the middle of all this stuff and I'm laughing and laughing and laughing. He says, "Stop laughing. I'm trying to take this picture. You've got to look serious, like you're upset." I couldn't stop laughing. I was so happy this happened.
Oh my gosh.
But you brought up another point also. I think there was another insurance debacle that I'd forgotten about that I wanted to bring up. When we first got our van, switching from a regular car to a van is a whole new ball game. And this is when they first came out with the vans. So there were no, how can I say it? There were no extra mirrors at the time. There was no video cam like there is now. There were no sensors. You relied solely on your rear view mirror and on your side mirrors, and that was it. You didn't even have a huge mirror in the back like they had later on, where you could actually see what was going on in the back.
Yeah.
So needless to say, not only myself, but everyone I spoke to told me that the first year that they drove vans, they got into at least 3 fender benders. Me too. Because it's hard to judge distance. It's a whole new ball game, and it takes a while till you realize that, hey, you even if you think you see something, you better get out of your van and check it first before you park, to make sure that this car behind you, as you're parallel parking, is a considerable distance behind you. And there was one time, it was night, especially nighttime. I was in a parking lot and I was parallel parking. And I looked around, I looked at all my mirrors. I didn't see, it looked totally clear. I start to park and bang. What was it? I get out, this teeny little black compact car.
Oh, wow.
And since it was night that you couldn't even see. So anyway, as a result of that, our insurance company wanted to cancel us, which meant we would have had to go on MAFE, which is an arm and a leg, which is very expensive. And we didn't have it. And we're looking around and looking around. We're trying to appeal. We're trying to appeal and trying to appeal. And what finally happened was I decided I remember the advice of my good old friend, just call the insurance commissioner.
Yeah.
So I did that too. I wrote a letter to the insurance commissioner and showed him the evidence saying I've got a good record. In fact, I have an excellent record. And these 3 accidents were little fender benders. All 3 added up to less than $1,000.
Yeah.
I said, this is no reason to cancel me.
Yeah.
Sure enough, a couple of days later, I get a call from the insurance company. Okay, you're reinstated.
Yay.
But you better not have any more accidents in the next 2 years.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. I know I know what. Oh, I remember the stop sign story. Was it? I'm going to use names. I don't care.
No names, no
Etty,
names, no names.
Etty
No
went ahead
names.
and drove down the block and hit the stop sign. The stop sign fell, and they had to go
Yes.
ahead and get that picked up. But didn't
Yes.
Connie bang up the small station wagon like on her way from to school?
Not that I remember, but
The gray one, the gray
did
station wagon, the one.
well the first station wagon we had was not. It was like beige with this like brown stripe.
Yes, I remember
Like
that.
yeah, it was
I
like
remember that.
yellow beige, something like that. And I remember, wow, I was driving that thing all the way to the other side of Baltimore, where Scherza Plata was way down off of Northern Parkway in those days, way down. So I was driving there, and I'm going past Mercy High School, and I smell what smells like steamed crabs.
Okay.
And I said, is Mercy High School having a crab fest today? And I get to Scherza Plata, and guess what? It
What?
was not steamed crabs. It was my engine overheating. What happened was there was a leak in my radiator, and all the antifreeze leaked out, and all the water leaked out.
Oh my gosh.
And what I did was I went into the building, and one of the rabbis helped me. He filled up a bucket of water. And I said, I just wanted to get back home. He filled up a bucket of water, put it in my put it in my radiator, and it was after a snowstorm, so I took all this ice and I piled all this ice on top of my radiator to cool it down. So I'm driving home, and so far so good until I get to Cross Country Boulevard, and the only houses there are these houses way up on a hill. And sure enough, the same thing happens now. Antifreeze leaks out, car engine overheats. So I walked up to one of the houses on the top of the hill, told them my situation. They gave me a big bucket of water. I don't know how I did this. I walked all the way down the hill with this huge bucket of water and put it in my radiator, and somehow managed to get home without the car engine exploding.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, did I tell you the story about when we were shopping for our first station wagon?
Yes. No,
Okay,
you
so-
haven't. No, you haven't. But like, make it quick because we're running
Okay,
out of
here's what
time.
happened. So we made an appointment to go to this dealership for our first station wagon, and we get there, and the salesman hands your father the keys, and your father like get behind get into the car, and he turns the key, the engine, nothing happens. He turns again, nothing happens. So the salesman says, "Let's see what's going on." So the salesman opens up the hood, and he goes, "Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. I have to talk to the guys in the service department." There was no engine in the car.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That is.
I cracked up laughing. I thought, man, this is one for the books. You can't make this up. This would be like for a sitcom.
Yeah, I think there was trying to rack my brain right now. I know I wrecked two cars. But one was because like I think I ran a red light. I couldn't remember because this old lady T-boned me, and she said she had the light, but I thought I had the light. And I started questioning my reality, and I was like, I don't know. The second time literally was like I think a month later. I was driving to Base Lubavitch, and I was taking cross country, and it was raining, and all of a sudden I see this truck go street like very fast.
Whoa.
And then it's coming towards me and lose control. So I quickly pulled over to the side and tried to avoid him, and he just came right towards me and T-boned me. And
what is T-bone?
you know what T looks like?
Yeah.
So T-bone means that
Yeah.
one car is going horizontally, the other car is going vertically, and they
and they
each other.
crash. Okay.
And then they went ahead and the cops came to just investigate and everything like that. I got out of the car. I was a little shaken, but I was fine. My shoulder was a little banged up, and I had to go to physical therapy. But the person was there. He wasn't a legal immigrant here. He was drunk. He wasn't even, and he didn't have the proper insurance. He didn't have anything. It wasn't even in his car. Yeah.
So what happened with so how
I
did you
don't. Insurance paid out, and that was it.
Uh-huh.
Like they figured something out, and made something happen, and that was it. I think another.
something similar like that when I went to New York? I was visiting your sister in New York.
Yeah.
I was going through this big intersection. I had the light, and at that particular intersection, this is I forgot what it was, Flatbush and Kings Highway or something. And you're not allowed to make a left turn there. So I'm driving straight through, and out of nowhere, this car comes and bang, like hits right into me. Thank God I wasn't hurt. It wasn't that bad. But I go through the intersection. I pull the car to the side. I'm looking for the guy, and a couple people saw what happened, ran over to me. They said they saw the car. They think they got the license number. Don't worry, if I want to go to court, they'll testify for me. And this guy, he comes back. The guy comes back. Turns out to be, I hate to say, Hispanic. I hate to say it. I'm not being prejudiced. I have a lot of friends who are Hispanics.
It's okay. It's fine. However you try, you're digging yourself a bigger hole, and you're running out of time.
I know. Anyway, so what happened was, so he tries to pay me off. He offered me $200. He goes, not such a bad injury. So I call your sister and brother-in-law, and they said, no, you never know about these things, even though it might look like a surface, like a surface damage. You never what happens on the inside. They would prefer going through the insurance company and having it taken care of. So I go back to the guy, tell him that I'm sorry, but my brother-in-law and sister say no. And I take out my phone and I start to take a picture of the damage. I start to take a picture of his license. And when he saw me taking pictures, he jumped into his car and tried to speed off as quickly as he could.
Oh, wow.
So I reported to the insurance company. I sent them the pictures, and they investigated, and they got back to me and said, this guy was, not only was he illegal, but that he had he did not have any insurance, and he did not have, same thing, did not have a license.
Yep.
No license, no insurance. But I took a chance. I mean, I think back to when I started taking those pictures, how he jumped in his car. You know something? This guy wanted to. He could have grabbed me, put me in the trunk of his car, and just driven away.
Yeah, but he didn't because he's trying to survive. All right, we're out of time.
Yeah, okay.
Have a good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos, sweetheart.
All right, have a wonderful time.
You too, sweetheart. Love you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I know you would like it, and my mother would too.